The children of Israel had moved to Egypt. Jacob had taken his family there with God's blessing. 70 descendants. Abraham had already been told that his descendants would be oppressed for 400 years, and it was only after 400 years that they would return to the land, that they would be established in the land of Israel. And so it happened. A new king arose in Egypt who oppressed the children of Israel, because they increased and became more numerous than the tribal group that had taken over Egypt. And so he made them serve with rigour. But still the children of Israel increased. And so the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, "When you do the duties of a midwife for the Hebrew women, and see them on the birth stools, if it is a son, then you shall kill him. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live." But the midwives feared God, and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the male children alive. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives, and said to them, "Why have you done this thing, and saved the male children alive?" And the midwives said to Pharaoh, "Because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are lively and give birth before the midwives come to them." Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very mighty. And so it was, because the midwives feared God, that he provided households for them. So Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, "Every son who is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive." My name's Arthur. Thank you for joining me as we continue sharing in Exodus chapter 1. We've read verses 15 to 22. As Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, seeks to control the children of Israel because he fears that they will support his enemies, his first stratagem hadn't worked. He tried to make them work hard, but still they increased. So he now takes direct action, instructing the midwives that they kill the babies as they are born. This killing of babies is another strategy of trying to destroy the nation of Israel, and many times in history this has happened. At the birth of Jesus, Herod took the same strategy. When he heard that a king had been born in Israel, he destroyed all the children in and around Bethlehem up to 2 years of age. Well, here the midwives were instructed to kill the baby boys. Let the girls live, but kill the boys. But they do not do so. We're told they did not kill the babies because they feared God. The characteristic of this nation is that they have a great respect and fear of God. And because they feared God, they respected life, even the life of a baby. For God had revealed to Noah that the man who takes innocent life should be executed. He forfeits his own right to live. And this knowledge of God and the respect for life had been passed on through Abraham to his descendants, the children of Israel. Abraham had taught of God. God had said to Abraham, "I have known him, that he might teach his children the way they should live." This is what made the children of Israel distinct from the Egyptians, which fueled the suspicion that the Egyptians had against them. Egyptian studies make it plain that the Egyptians revered their Pharaoh as God, or at least he claimed to be God. But the Israelites did not respect Pharaoh as God. They knew there was a greater God in heaven, the creator of the world. And so this was a major distinction between the Israelites and the Egyptians. The Israelites feared God. But to follow God's way is the way of wisdom. Solomon points out very plainly that if you walk in the good path, that you are healthier, you live longer, and you are wealthier, all things being equal, than those who walk according to the wisdom of this world. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. So, Shiphrah and Puah, why have you not been killing the babies? They responded honestly, but confidently, to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. They said, "The Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are lively and give birth before the midwives come to them." Now, there's no hint that they're telling a lie here just to save their skin. It was obviously a characteristic of the Hebrew women that they were healthier, they were fitter, and there was a higher survival rate of children than the Egyptians experienced. The very fact that they were producing so many children so fast indicates that birth of children was easy for them, because in many societies, why was there difference between the Israelites and the Egyptians, the Hebrews and the Egyptians? It was no doubt because of their lifestyle, and because as a people they followed the teaching of their father Abraham, because the Israelites feared God. But it's not a magical thing. It's when you fear God and walk according to his ways, your priorities are different from those who do not fear God and walk according to their own ways. And with those different priorities comes different attitudes to many things, and these are all part of the tradition that Abraham passed on to his children and that have been passed down through the centuries. Many of them become our lifestyle today because of the influence of the Jews around the world. God has spread them around the world, and the Gentile nations have learned many things over the centuries from the Jewish people. So things that we now take as normal and as part of our lifestyle, even though we're not Jewish, have come because of the fear of God that these Jewish people had 3,500 years ago. This is one of the ways that God has blessed the nations of the world through the descendants of Abraham. God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very mighty. So this attempt by Pharaoh to control the children of Israel has also failed. Now, the idea of killing babies, though, has taken off in Western society. And the figures that I have heard of tens of thousands of babies being aborted in Australia each year make statistics concerning car accidents and drownings and other kinds of murder pale in insignificance. Yet our society seems to accept it. We do not respect life when we treat a fetus as if it's just like a piece of hair that we might choose to chop off. But God is not mocked. Judgment comes upon our society and those women who submit to abortion. It's a legal distinction of the kind that Jesus condemned, to say that a baby before birth is not a person, but after birth is. The huge abortion rate has unbalanced Australian and generally Western society, so that there are too many old people and not enough young people. The generation that has killed its babies will pay the price, not least through mental health, which is the next major issue facing Australian society. It is a major concern that young people are killing themselves. A society which neglects the knowledge of God, and hence the fear of God, and hence respect for life, brings judgment upon itself. The children of Israel in Egypt did not submit to this killing of their babies. The vast majority of Christians do not go along with the murder of infants. But I understand from Jesus' teaching that of such is the kingdom of heaven, means that all of these aborted babies will be resurrected and will participate in the kingdom of heaven. The wisdom of the Hebrew midwives was that they feared God and therefore defended the defenseless, the babies, the weakest in society. And God blessed them, not only saving their life when Pharaoh challenged them, but we're told he provided households for them. These women in due turn were blessed by God to have children of their own. And so Pharaoh devises a new strategy. If the midwives won't do it, then let the people do it. Every son who is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive.